Welcome to another Pirkei Avot episode. We are on chapter 6. We're going to do Mishna 9, and we dedicate this Mishna, as always, in memory of Levy ben Moshe Esther and Elisheva Yael bat Levy, and also in memory of Shlomo ben Moshe Esther. And I'm going to hand you over to Michael.
Thank you, Rav Mashiach. So this Mishnah is accredited to Rabbi Yosef ben Kizma. And who was this? Who was Rabbi Yosef ben Kizma? He was one of the great sages of his generation at the time of Rav Chanina ben Tradon. Because he didn't join Bar Kokhba's revolt, he was not molested by the Roman governors, but rather enjoyed their recognition and esteem. Therefore, he was able to teach Torah in Caesarea until the obviously terrible persecutions that followed Bar Kokhba's defeat of Beitar. Then he warned Rabbi Chanina ben Tradon to stop teaching openly lest he die a martyr's death, but his warning was to no avail. He himself died soon after, and the Roman officials attended his funeral to pay him a last homage. On their return, they came upon Rabbi Chanina teaching Torah, and they had him put to death by fire, with, as we know, a Torah scroll wrapped around him. Apart from this story that we're about to learn in this Mishnah, only one teaching of Rav Yosef ben Kizma is recorded in the Talmud. It was symbolic of his search for peace in troubled times, that before his death he asked his disciples to bury his casket deep in the earth where no foreign horses might disturb it. So what does our Mishnah say? Omar Rav Yosef ben Kizma. Rabbi Yosef ben Kizma said, Pa'am achat hayiti mahalech baderech. Once I was walking along the road. Ufaga bi adam echad v'natan li shalom. When a man met me and greeted me. V'chazarti lo shalom. And I returned his greeting. Omali, he said to me, Rabbi, me'eze makom ata? From which place are you? Amarti lo, I told him, me'ir gedola shel chachamim v'shel sofrim ani. From a great city of scholars and teaching scribe am I. Amali, he said to me, Rabbi, Ratzonacha shetador emanu bimkomenu. Rabbi, would you be willing to live with us in our place? V'ani eten lecha 1,000 alafim dinari zahav v'avanim tovot umargliot. I would give you 1,000,000 gold denarii and precious stones and pearls. Omarti lo, I answered him, Im ata noten li kol kesef v'zahav v'avanim tovot umargaliot sheba'olam eini da ela mimkom Torah. Were you to give me all the silver and gold and precious stones and pearls in the world, I would live nowhere but in a place of Torah. V'chein katzuv b'sefer Tehillim, and it is written in the book of Psalms by King David, Al Yedei David Melech Yisrael, Tov li Torat picha me'alfei zahav v'kesef. Better to me is the Torah, the instruction of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's word, than thousands of gold and silver pieces. V'lo od, and not only that, Ela sheba sha'at Petrito shel Adam ein melevim v'lo la'adam lo kesef, lo zahav, lo avanim tovot umar giliot. And not only that, but in the hour of a man's final departure, neither silver, nor gold, nor precious stones, nor pearls accompany the man. Ella Torah of Ma'asim Tovim Bilvad, but rather Torah and good deeds alone. Shne'emar, as it is stated, Behithalechacha tenache otcha. When you go about, it shall lead you. Beshavchacha tishma alecha. When you lie down, it shall watch over you. V'hakiyotzata hi teshachecha. And when you waken, it shall speak speak for you. Behit halachacha tanacha otcha. When you go about, b'shachacha tishma alecha. When you go about, it shall lead you in the world, and when you lie down, it shall watch you in the grave. V'hakitzota hi teshichecha, and when you waken, it shall speak for you le'olam haba, in the world to come. V'omer li hakesef li zahav na'um Hashem tzvaot. And further, it is stated, mine is the silver, and mine, referring to Hashem, is the gold, said HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This is from Psalms, King David's Psalms, also from quotations from King Solomon's Mishna. So, this is a very strange Mishnah. It tells of a story of a rabbi who was walking along the road, and he is approached by a man. So let's look at this story in more detail. On the surface, this is rather a simple tale, which shows how a scholar acted in a specific situation in accord with all the lessons we've learnt in this perek. But as Abarbanel shows, every point repays study and reflection. Let's begin at the heart of the story. This rabbi was offered a small fortune to move to this stranger's place, a locale. Rabbi Yosef ben Kizma refuses abruptly because, as he says, he will live nowhere but in a place of Torah. So why the immediate refusal? How could he be instantly certain that in this stranger's city, Torah did not and could not thrive? This is interesting. The answer lies in the stranger's actual offer. So what did he offer? He offered 1,000,000 gold denarii in addition to gems and pearls. And how could that be a fair price? And could that be a fair price only for a commodity that must have been extremely rare in this person's locale? If people are willing to pay £1,000,000 or dollars for a Torah scholar, they make it clear at once that in this respect, godliness is not within their locale, and this place, the city that he was perhaps being led to by riches, was bereft of Torah. So, as we said, Rabbi Yosef says, without further ado, he would not attend such a place. Let's go back to the beginning of this Mishnah, and it says, Rabbi Yosef ben Kizma said, once I was going along the road. So Abarbanel comments on this and asks, what need had he to tell us this? What difference would it make if they met by a river or a park? Here Abarbanel sees an allegorical meaning. As we know, from birth onwards, man is so-called on the road or travelling through life until he finds his so-called lodging for the night. So this stranger found him in the midst of his life journey, perhaps on the road in the allegorical sense. But even so-called on the road, says Abarbanel, the pious man takes along his faith and his learned sacred study. The comment of Kala Rabati, that even if the stranger was an ignoramus, Rabbi Yosef should have given him a greeting at once, and the only reason he didn't was that he was immersed in his own Torah meditations and didn't notice the stranger until the stranger greeted him. And therefore Rabbi Yosef relates, once a man met me. He met him, he encountered him, and he initially didn't even notice him. He was engrossed in his own study. So, and also the Chofetz Chaim makes an interesting remark on Rabbi Yosef's refusal. It proves that you can't create a place of Torah just with an offer of money. Otherwise, he could have accepted the offer and built a Torah community with his own salary. That was a Chofetz Chaim commentary on this. So Rabbi Yosef refused the offer. The Chatav Sofer notes that he left no room for bargaining or doubts regarding a price for his service. So let's look at this as an allegory or an allegorical meaning, continuing this theme that Rabbi Yosef intended this as an allegory. Abarbanel finds that the story is of every dedicated Talmud Chacham or Rabbi. As he walks his life road of Torah, he is always met by offers and temptations and opportunities, but they are always mundane endeavors, and they really are not in line with a pious person's values. Let's look further in the Mishnah and to the quotation: in the hour of a man's final departure, neither silver nor gold, nor precious stones, nor pearls accompany him, but Torah and good deeds alone. So we learn in Yirmiyahu and also in Seder Eliyahu Zuta about this midrash that talks about the riches of people. And I quote, "Let not the rich man glory in his riches, not even if he is as rich as Ahab, son of Omri, king of Israel. It was said of Ahab that he had 70 sons, and for each and every one he built a palace of marble. Yet once he died, his sovereignty was nil, and his wealth was void." So money, riches have great value and importance whilst you're alive on this earth. But as King David tells of man, and I quote, "When he dies, he will not carry it all away. His glory will not go down after him." This is from Tehillim 49:18. This is very important to understand that whatever you work for and strive for in a material or monetary sense, you cannot take a penny with you. This is the only things you can take with you are your good deeds and your mitzvot. And finally, the quote of, "When you go about, it shall lead you." The author of the Behinat Olam says that human life is a fragile bridge thrown across a raging sea. One end of the bridge emerges mysteriously from a fog-shrouded area called non-existence, the time before we are born. The other ends fades mysteriously into a cloud of divine radiance. This is probably Olam Haba he's referring to. It is a bridge without railings or supports, and it sways in the wind and is washed by angry waves. And against his will, man is told to walk that bridge from the moment he is a man. And how wide is this bridge? Exactly the width of a man. What help is it on such a bridge to strike any postures of pride and arrogance, or pretense to strength, or boasts of wealth? To guide his steps on its perilous path, man has but one instrument, the Torah. Its holiness alone brings stability and final security. So wonderful words from the author of Behinat Olam, which is a didactic poem. It's the examination of the world. It was, just for your reference, it was published and translated by Rabbi Yedaya ben Avraham Bedersi, who was a 13th century poet, physician and philosopher that was born in Béziers in France, in Provence area. So very interesting, very beautiful analogy to man's plight and man's path through this world. And as we know, Torah guides you in life and watches you after life. When does it watch you after life? When you make it your guide in life. As the Midrash writes on a verse, "When you go about, it shall lead you." When a man toils in Torah during his life to the point of weariness, and when you awaken, it shall speak for you. When we all stand in judgment, please God, one day in 120 years, it will be your defender, demonstrating his virtue. This is from Midrash Tanchuma Vayetze. And that concludes the 9th Mishnah of the 6th Perek.
Thank you so much for that Mishna, Michael. That was really interesting. Until then, we wish you a wonderful and blessed week.